they've been saying this for a decade now. Content is king. Is that still, do you still buy into content is king when it comes to SEO? And if so, is blogging still one of the main like driving forces of that for law firms?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, some of the biggest case studies that we have are those of which that really invested heavy into content. For example, we work with Ben Crump. He's a civil rights lawyer. He represented the families of George Floyd and Trayvon Martin, right? And
I knew that sounded familiar to me.
Yep. And so about 2 years ago, he didn't really have an SEO strategy, right? He had a website that had maybe like 15 pages of content, right? And we started to go aggressive and we started to publish 400,000 words of content every single month. And we weren't using like any AI at all. We were like handwriting all of that content each and every month. Fast forward 2 years, now the site ranks for like 40,000 keywords. It has an SEMrush value of like $8 million per month. And, SEO is really theoretical or practical, and we like to look at the practical side of SEO based on some of the case studies that we've developed. And that right there just kind of proves, that's just one case study, but that proves that content is king, right? If you do it correctly. With regards to blogging, I think blogging is more of like a term from like the 90s. It's okay to blog, but blogging isn't, that used to be how you basically update like a WordPress, right? Because WordPress was originally kind of like a blog, right? And if you wanted to publish content, you had to publish a new blog post, right? Nowadays, it doesn't have to be in the form of blog. If you set up your website correctly, you can have an FAQ silo where you're writing FAQs. You can have another silo that has all of your different practice areas. You can have, as long as you're publishing content on a regular basis, that's perfectly fine. Like Hennessey, our agency, we do have a blog, and we do an amazing job with our blog post. But that's really like our outlook on the world. And we've got interesting posts about some of the conferences that we attended, or, hey, we just, had a change in leadership here, so like it's more of internal communication that we kind of share with the world. But blogging is not necessarily like the secret to SEO anymore.